Hey YouTube. Okay, so I'm here to talk about When We Rise. This is episode 1. It's going to be a total of 4. So it's a mini-series. I've already talked about this. I talked about it when I saw the premiere last week. But it was 8 hours long, and I'm sure that I missed a lot of the details. So I said, well, I'm going to talk about each episode as it comes on. So it's on ABC. It's called When We Rise. It is basically the lives of 3 activists. Cleve Jones, who is the writer of the book. There's Ken Jones, who is my dear friend. And there's Roma Guy, who is a lesbian activist, women's rights activist. All right, so I know, so I'll be repeating myself a little bit from the other video, but if you didn't see that, just ignore that. This thing opens with Cleve Jones as an adult. It's like he's about 50. He's being interviewed by this young kid. So I'm not sure who the young kid is, if it's a local paper or whatever it is. But he's telling the story. So then it quickly goes back into the history, the stories. The first story we're exposed to is the story of Ken Jones, my friend, who is black, who is when it opens, he's in Vietnam, or he's in the service, and he's on a boat, so he's a sailor. Okay, so Ken Jones is a gay man. He's not out at that point, I don't think. He meets a guy there in the service, and they fall in love. I don't know if you would say they were lovers. They were definitely boyfriends. They lived on the ship, so I don't know how close they could be as far as being in relationship. But there's someone that they cared about a lot. This person ends up dying. It looks like he's loading bombs to be shipped on a boat, and the thing blows up some kind of way. They show him loading these bombs onto this warship, and then something happens and he's killed. So that's how we get to know Brother Jones. He is sent to Treasure Island, which is how he ends up in San Francisco. Treasure Island sits right off of San Francisco. I'm not sure if it's considered a part of San Francisco or not, but it's just a few feet. It's halfway between Oakland and San Francisco. So right off San Francisco is the Army base on Treasure Island at the time. So he gets up here, right? Then they tell us a little bit about Roma. Okay, Roma is doing mission work in Africa. She has a love affair there. You know, young people are always having love affairs. It's wonderful to be young at it. Yeah, she's with the woman there, and I think the woman goes on somewhere else. They get separated, and Roma ends up going first to, after that mission, she goes to Boston. She tries to get involved in the women's liberation movement. The women there are discriminating against lesbian women, though. In other words, they want to get the lesbians out. She's overhearing this conversation, knowing that she's a lesbian herself, and she said, "Okay, this is not for me." She wanted to work with women, work in women's liberation movement, but lesbian women apparently were not welcome there in that particular group. So she leaves Boston and she comes to San Francisco. Now I think Roma is about 20 as well. 20, I think they're all in their early 20s or right around 20. Okay, so Roma comes here. No, first she goes to Berkeley. She gets involved in the women's movement there. So these are already activists. Their purposes are not fully defined. Their missions, you know, what they want to do, but they're activists. So they get involved in wherever they're at, different levels. So then we go on to Cleve's story. Jimmy, please stop. I say please. He understands English. Cleve is the guy who wrote the book. He's a local San Francisco. I've seen him around forever. You know, I feel also closer to the story, not only because I know one of the people who are being portrayed, but also because this is my neighborhood, right here in the Castro. The places that they're talking about, some of the scenes they shot, are right outside my window. I'm looking right down at them, so I feel particularly close to the story. All right, so there's a lot of San Francisco history, activism. Cleve, they show him. He's a young boy. I think he's a little younger. Maybe he's 18. He's 18 years old, and he decides to tell his father that he is homosexual. Now, his father is a psychiatrist or psychologist, and in his book, in his library, he has many books on electroshock treatments, all of these failed things that they used to try to cure homosexuality. He believes in all that. So when Cleve tells him that he is homosexual, his thought is, okay, you have an illness and we can fix it. You can be cured. So of course he want to get out of there quickly. So Cleve leaves home. Now, his father, apparently they have actually performed electroshock treatments or maybe even lobotomies. Some of the books he had were explaining lobotomies, where they just take some of the people's brains out. Anyway, so he leaves and he ends up in San Francisco. Of course, he's broke. Gets there with $15, I think it is. It's a common story. A lot of us got here that way. But so we go into Cleve's story when he comes to San Francisco. Him going first to a hospice, and some of the sketchy characters he would meet at the hospice are finding a place to live. One lives in a tree house, and things like that. Just being young and being in San Francisco. Meanwhile, okay. So now all three of these guys, they're together. They all meet up in San Francisco. Initially, there's a club here. I guess it's in the Tenderloin, run by this trans woman. And what are the circumstances they meet? Roma is organizing a. Let me just leave that because there's so much that went on to brought them three together. But they came together in a bar where all three of them met each other. Okay, so Cleve, he had met Roma already. He met Roma in a laundromat, and Roma was organizing a women's march, and so she needed permits and things. So they go into that quite a bit, how hard it was for a woman to get a permit for a demonstration. Now, San Francisco is known for demonstrations. We demonstrate everything. So it's always been a political type town. When I lived in Los Angeles, I would come to San Francisco, and one of the first things that struck me was how political they were. For us in LA, a gay parade was just a party. Here at that time, the gay parade was full of marches and demonstrations. Very political town. So anyway, all three of these get involved. Oh, so Cleve decides to join Roma because they're all women, but he brings some of his friends to join Roma in their march to help each other out, kind of thing. Okay. Something that I thought was kind of strange about this production, although I mean I loved it. I'm not saying anything wrong. But think about, I mean, if you're writing memoir, nonfiction, you have to kind of stick with the story, what happened. So it's not like when you're writing fiction where you can just go off on these and create the perfect worlds. We have to deal with what are the facts. The facts should be a part of nonfiction. So apparently people were being bashed a lot in San Francisco at this time. So I guess this is about 1972, 73, something like that. It started in the early 70s. And people are being, because you don't see a lot of that in San Francisco anymore. I mean, it's always been a liberal city. It's been known for being a liberal city. But I came out in 70. First time I came here was in 77. And it was already a very, very gay world in the Castro. I mean, it just seemed like it had been that way all along. But apparently just a few years earlier, the people were still being bashed. Cleve gets bashed. There's several other people who get bashed in his things, gay bash. The cops are against them. The mayor has decided he doesn't want the gays in San Francisco, but they're coming. And this chronicles some of the beginnings of it. All right, so there's lots of violence. I never experienced that thing of not in the cast. I didn't think it went on here, just because when I became familiar with this world, it was already totally gay, and so they were hated by the cops and by bashers, straight folks driving in, beating up kids. It happened several times. Okay, next thing, Cleve meets Sylvester. First time we see Sylvester, she's, Sylvester, well, we all know who Sylvester is. You're looking at me, you probably know who Sylvester is. First time he sees him, he's doing a drag show in that club that I was talking about, where the trans girl is the owner. Okay, we just see her singing in that, and then she kind of likes Cleve. So the next thing is we see them meeting up in a restaurant, but I don't know that they ever did anything. They became friends. I guess this is in the early parts of Sylvester's career. He became a very big disco star, but here he's just singing in the clubs. All right, let me see. Roma gets a proposition to join. Oh, Miss Roma. Okay, so Roma is involved with the women's now in San Francisco. They're organizing to fight for women's rights. They're fighting basically against violence against women. And this is where we would meet. Rosie O'Donnell's a part of this group as well. But one of the leaders of that group likes Roma, and she has a partner. So Roma has been sleeping with the partner and the both partners she's been sleeping with, but not knowing that now they want to make it official. She joined them in a menage a trois as a family. She wants them to move it. They want her to move into a house with them, and that's just it's a bridge too far for Roma. She's only about 20 years old, 19, 20 years old. So, but she's been having an affair or having sex with both of these women. So she turns them down. She continues to have a relationship with. She still communicates with the girl that she left in Africa, and now she has a relationship with one of these women. Of the two, she's had sex with both of them, but she's having a relationship with one of them. All right, so okay. So I'm going backwards a little bit. When they met okay, they already talked about that. Ken encounters racist attitudes. I am familiar with that. So Ken he encounters racism when he goes into these Castro bars, because Castro might be gay, but they are white. And apparently they didn't mix much. So I didn't like the bartender. I mean, he came on like some Southern racist. I guess he can be a Southern racist, even though he's a gay himself, or he probably gets to change people for someone else. But he tries to go into a bar, so they give him shade at the door, at the you like my dog? Stand up, boy! Anyway. So, goes in the club, they give him shade, they don't want to serve him, and so forth. But he meets a man there. Good looking man. Ken's black, this is a white guy. The white guy is a teacher or something like that. That's significant because one of the first fights is going to be this Briggs Initiative, which will say that gay people shouldn't teach children in California. So, it's significant that this person is a teacher. All right. Yeah. So in the part one, Cleve Jones is being attacked by these guys and these bashers who would beat him up. For no other reason, they're just driving around chasing homosexual people and beating them up. That's where this first part 1 ends. So anyway, I hope that kind of encourages you guys to check this thing out. It's on demand now, and I noticed just now that they have episode 1 and 2 on demand. So if you have Comcast, you can see 2 episodes now. The other one, I think, number 2 premieres on Wednesday. Yeah, not today because there's a Trump mess. Tomorrow. So I'll come back and maybe have a couple words about part 2. You're gonna love this. This is gay history, San Francisco history, history of the movement. Talk to you later.